All right, here we go. Hi, I'm Mark Miller, CEO and founder of Greenwater Marine Sciences Offshore, and had a long career with NOAA as command of some of the oceanographic research vessels there, where I got to work with Tim at that time at headquarters.
Yeah, and Mark, don't sell yourself short. I think you're one of the only NOAA Corps officers who commanded 2 ships. So that was pretty impressive. And that's where we got to know each other when I served at NOAA. I'm Tim Gallaudet, former oceanographer of the Navy, and served for 32 years in that capacity as an oceanographer. And then I served with Mark for about 4 years at NOAA as the acting and deputy administrator, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So we're going to talk about exploration and what the government has been doing, what innovators like Bob Ballard and Victor Vescovo, who we'll introduce, have been doing, as well as others in the private sector.
Yeah. So first off, Tim, why don't you tell me a little bit of how you got started and fell in love with the ocean and spent a whole adult career focused on it?
Yeah, well, briefly, my story, I grew up in Southern California, and like many people in this conference, I went to the beach or went to the water to swim off Los Angeles, and after surfing and swimming quite a bit and getting a good dose of salt water in my veins, I couldn't resist having a career in this field. And so when I was studying where I could go and looking at what kind of universities had marine science programs, sure enough, the Naval Academy had an oceanography undergraduate major. And this is 1985, and there weren't many schools that had that then. Luckily, it's really proliferated now across academia, but and my dad had been in the Navy, so that kind of combined to say, let's go here and give it a shot. And the great thing about the Naval Academy is that you get to work on the water immediately. You have instant employment upon graduation as an officer in the Navy. And my service selection was an oceanography specialist. And I'm proud to say right now that my middle daughter, her name is Aspen, she is also an oceanography major at the Naval Academy.
Yes.
Finishing up her second year. Thank you very much. So then the rest is really history. I did that for 32 years and loved it. Sailed all around the world, participated in 2 combat deployments, and finished off in the Pentagon as that top oceanographer position, working for the Chief of Naval Operations, which then led me to NOAA. And we can go into that sometime, but yes.
Excellent. Well, that was it. The next topic is your time at NOAA. If we're ready to dive into that yet. So I had the honor and rare experience be front row seat of the transition from the Obama administration to Trump administration, and
you were on the transition team?
So I was the NOAA liaison to the Coast Guard at the time.
Okay.
And so Kathy Sullivan putting the package together for her to depart, and then you coming in, and
so quick explainer. So Dr. Kathy Sullivan was a former astronaut, and she is the first American woman to walk in space. Mm-hmm. And I had a relationship with her. So when I was not that kind of relationship. When I was a one-star oceanographer of the Navy, I also was officially, for the Chief of Naval Operations, the liaison officer to the NOAA administrator. So every 6 months, Kathy and I would have lunch. We'd talk about the naval oceanography community mirrors NOAA in a lot of ways, but they just do that kind of work, hydrography, meteorology, oceanography, for the Navy, whereas NOAA does the same kind of thing, but for the nation. And so I knew Kathy really well, and that made the transition, I think, a positive one. I remember she did send me a private message and warned me it could be a little bumpy, and which it was, and we can go into that.
So I got to have this front row seat and watch you come in, knowing there was a lot of bumps to figure out, and watch you thread the needle, which you did successfully. And thank you for your leadership during that time, because NOAA did not get like EPA gutted or anything like that while you're there, and we survived fairly well. And I'm sure that was a major part of your leadership. But tell me more about your mindset and how we got through that.
Yeah, and I want to come back to ocean exploration after this, but quickly. And actually, I have a book coming out in July. It's available on Amazon. right now for pre-orders, and it's called Holding Fast in Heavy Seas, and the subtitle is Leadership for Turbulent Times, and it's exactly that, trying to lead a science agency under Trump. As you can imagine, it was a challenge then, it's probably more so today. And remarkably, though, we had such an awesome workforce, and that's what lifted me up every day. And so we were able to, as you say, thread the needle and get a number of wins, despite some challenges, mostly from the Commerce Department, not really the White House. The White House liked what we did. So we released a Blue Economy strategic plan. We advanced a number of science and technology initiatives, including ocean drones to advance exploration. So we created the first NOAA program for drones or uncrewed systems, and we got funding for it, a new start. Artificial intelligence, we launched an artificial intelligence center. We created a strategy to address stony coral tissue loss disease, and a number of other, new marine sanctuary on the Potomac River called Mallows Bay, the first new marine sanctuary or protected area that NOAA manages in 20 years. And then it was a great success, love it, a great place to visit and kayak. And then we also finished up, a day before I left, we expanded the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary threefold. And these are really pristine coral reefs that are about 100 miles offshore of Galveston, Texas, in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. If you ever get a chance to dive there, I strongly encourage it. My wife and I did. She's a former Navy diver, and it is just aquarium-like conditions, just wonderful. And then a number of other things. So that's the whole story. That book is basically how we tried to get these wins during a really stormy sea, if you will. And the holding fast bit is a bunch like, it really refers to the fact that I got very close to being fired or almost quit. Probably, I felt like a cat with 9 lives, to be honest with you. But we did well and had some successes. And actually, the biggest thing that was interesting is that because we didn't dismantle the agency that everybody feared, and it was happening in other agencies, our morale scores peaked in 2020, at the end of 2020, by 26 points.
Holy.
And before that, they had never changed more than it was always single-digit changes. So that's what the story is about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cheers. All right. Well, it's switching to ocean exploration. So let's see.
Well, here, let me. So one of the other wins, this is really interesting for people who follow it. So I remember learning about Bob Ballard's history, and we had a chat earlier this morning about this. Me and Ballard, he's the discoverer of the Titanic, and is, of course, this renowned ocean explorer. And I knew we should do something like that. And so what I proposed to the White House's Ocean Policy Committee in 2019 was to create a national strategy to explore the ocean. And they liked that, and they actually turned it back on me and said, let's do a national strategy to map, explore, and characterize the ocean. So a little more, mapping too with sonar, et cetera, and characterization with ROVs like Bob does. And thus we had that, a national strategy. The president directed it in a presidential memorandum, and now it's in place today, and NOAA and with partners like the USGS is executing it, so it endured. And even, it carried on to the Biden administration, and it's carrying on under the Trump administration. So a real bipartisan win to map and explore our EEZ.
Excellent. Yeah. So that'll actually roll right into my next question. So right now, 85% of the science that wants to go to sea can't get to sea because of a lack of access.
Right.
Ships and
ships are expensive.
Yep.
So this is the reason your company, you established your company. What's ship time nowadays run in terms of cost per day?
Oh, somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 for most research vessels.
It's just not sustainable.
Correct.
Good job. Yeah, so tell us about how you're addressing that, Mark.
Oh, yeah, thanks. So I'm creating a fleet of oceanographic research vessels around the world. Again, had command of the big research vessels that do cost $50,000 a day. And while I was at NOAA, realized that a whole lot of the work, in fact, the vast majority of the work, can be done on much smaller vessels. So we'd be out there with the NOAA ship Nancy Foster, Henry Bigelow, putting something the size of this chair into the water 50 miles offshore, and have a 21-foot whaler go by, and I'd be like, why? Why? Because it was the only option. And so my whole career, I was keeping an eye on that, and realized that we could do a lot more efficiently. Still need the big ships and to do big ship stuff, but so much of the grunt work of science could be done on these smaller 90, 100-foot size vessels. And so retired, got my military pension, so I'm able to survive and feed myself. And now creating this fleet of these intermediate-sized vessels around the world. Our unofficial motto is, instead of building a $500 million ship, let's build 100 $5 million vessels and flood the ocean science community with these vessels. Affordable, push that price point way down so that postdoc that gets a $50,000 grant, that'll get you one day, as long as you load and offload the ship on a full-size research vessel. These intermediate-sized vessels, you can get up to a week and still have money left over to pay your interns.
Beautiful, that's just terrific. Yeah, interestingly, I today consult for a number of environmental tech companies, and one of them is a weather company, and you're seeing a transition from the way in space, with what you're trying to do in the ocean, where satellites before, for example, a NOAA weather satellite, the programs that we had were billion-dollar, multi-year programs building these very exquisite satellites, but only a handful of them, and spending that much money for good coverage, but it was like a very exquisite watch. Whereas nowadays, this other company I'm working with, they're building a LEO constellation, low Earth orbit, and they're just having multiple proliferated, basically a proliferated LEO of many satellites, all getting better coverage with what they call revisit rates of hours rather than a whole day. And so your model is exactly the same. The private sector is taking on technology, and they're pushing the limit to get greater coverage. So it's an interesting analogy.
Yeah, that's a good one. So ocean mapping. Yeah. Ocean mapping. So right now, new number of a couple days ago from Seabed 2030, 71% of the ocean is unmapped.
71. Okay.
Yeah, so we got up to 29%. I'm sure that was from more data coming from government agencies that finally released it. Is usually where that comes from nowadays. 71% of the ocean unmapped. And by unmapped, so if you all don't understand completely, we're talking pretty much completely unmapped, resolution of like 100 square kilometers. Pacific Ocean is covered with, on the nautical charts, with readings from Captain James Cook from the 1700s, literally. And so I'm working on a project with Victor Vescovo right now we have designed a vessel that has the most powerful civilian available sonar for deep ocean mapping. And we are putting that pickup truck size sonar on, which usually on like a 200 to 400 foot ship, and putting it underneath a 80-foot boat, quasi-autonomous vessel. So the vessel will be functionally autonomous, be able to dodge whales and ships and whatnot, but comes with 1 or 2 crew members on board for regulatory issues and to fix things that break, right. Because they do. And those boats will be going out at 10 knots for 2 to 4 weeks at a time, and doing tons of mapping and start chipping away at that 71%. In fact, each boat will be able to map about 1.5 to 2% of the ocean a year.
That's okay.
Yeah,
get
so
a couple dozen,
that's a game
get 100
changer.
of them, you'll make a dent there.
That's exactly right.
And so for the audience, if you don't know who Victor Vescovo is, he is the gentleman who led this 5 deeps expedition where he built a submersible that was full ocean depth rated, bought a ship, and went around the world and dived in the deepest trenches of all the world's oceans, including the Marianas Trench and the Challenger Deep in Marianas Trench in the Pacific, which is 35,000 feet down. Quick little sea story here. So Victor, having broken that deep diving record, the person he broke it from was a captain in the Navy named Don Walsh, who stayed in the area of maritime technology and was a wonderful contributor to this field. And we both, Victor and I, had the very special honor that when Don had his 90th birthday, the Explorers Club hosted a celebration for him. And now Victor's got the Explorers Club medal, I believe. So does Don, I think. And so we got to pose for a photo together. Don, retired Navy captain, Victor, retired Navy commander, and me. And we're holding a flag that Victor flew to the deepest part of the ocean. It was a US Navy flag. He put it outside the pressure hull of his submersible, and he signed it and put the depth, and I have it hanging in our family room right now.
Oh, do you?
It's fantastic. So that was special, and he gifted that to me for our partnership, which I signed when I was the deputy administrator, because what Victor did is after he did that expedition, he said, hey, I'm still open for business. I want to partner. And so he ended up putting our scientists on his ship, and they eventually measured through several dives the most precise measurement of the Marianas Trench that had ever been done. And he also mapped the Aleutian Trench up in Alaska, which is phenomenal. And he did a fly-through of it. It looks like going through the Grand Canyon, but on steroids. Anyway, a good partnership, very successful. And you're working with him.
Yep, now I'm working with
to
them.
build those ships. How much per day do they cost?
So those vessels, fully philanthropic. And so Victor will be funding it. The vessels themselves, for cost, so throw your mind, is $6 million versus the $200 to $300 million for the vessels we're building to.
Right.
Hundreds of million dollars. But we're looking at literally pushing the price point from somewhere around $40 per square kilometer to map.
Oh, that's right.
Down to about 2 or 3. Kind of 3's our goal.
Dollars.
$3 per square kilometer.
Smokes. And what's it today with let's say one of our NOAA hydrographic
Yeah, I
ships?
think it's 40, 45.
Oh gosh! Wow.
Right.
How about
Yeah.
that?
So it's a game changer for the world.
Right on. That's great.
Yeah, but operating costs is less than $4,000 a day. And I mean,
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
which is mostly fuel because we're
orders
just
of magnitude improvement.
10 knots all the time. Yeah.
So that's really brilliant, Mark. Wishing you luck. So you're also working with a number of vessel operators, isn't that right? Other ships.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So as we're building our own fleet of vessels, and first one's going into Panama, and I'll get to that in a second.
Please do.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. The ocean science community has been so hungry for somebody to call. So if you can't get time on your government vessel, like a NOAA ship or a university vessel, unless you know a person with a boat, there's nobody else to call. And so we've become that call globally, because now
your company,
my
GMSO.
company. Yeah, it's weird. It's just like we obviously did something right, because scientists are calling me all the time, being like, Mark, I know you don't have your full fleet of vessels up and running, but do you know of a boat here? And so I keep getting these calls, and then all of a sudden the entire vessel side, there's a whole community of vessels out there that are either research vessels or research capable, easily converted, and can do some work, that reach out to me and be like, hey, we got time on our schedule, can you find us work? And so now, so unexpectedly, I've become the international broker for ocean science, and it seems to be working, right?
Good on you. All right.
Yep. And so we've done a couple projects. We actually connected one team with a vessel based out of the Cook Islands, a deep sea mining company,
there you go.
but they got a full 6,000 meter rated ROV and multi-beam sonars and CTDs and stuff, and went and placed some equipment on the Marianas back arc deep hydrothermal vents.
Nice. Okay.
I'm like, all right, I think that's real.
Yeah.
And a couple other projects like that. So it's been interesting and fun pivoting as this scrappy little startup gets going.
There you go. Tell us about the Panama, what you're going to do there.
So Panama, so we have our first official research vessel is going next month down to Panama. And this will kind of explain what the GMSO model is. So vessels going down there, it's going to be based at the Smithsonian's dock, at the Tropical Research Institute, working with the Smithsonian, working with the nation states of the Eastern Tropical Pacific, so Ecuador, Panama, Colombia, and Costa Rica. And the Smithsonian's been coordinating with them for the CMAR region, and then also working with a number of nonprofits, Leatherback Sea Turtle Project and Mar Alliance that does shark research, and the Charles Darwin Foundation. So presently, in the Eastern Pacific tropical area, there is no research vessels, none whatsoever. And I think, put things in perspective, the Baltic Sea, which I think is about a third the size of this region, and arguably less important for biological diversity and effects on climate from like El Nino is in this region, right? Like
Yeah.
develops in this region. Baltic Ocean has 17 research vessels.
God,
Eastern Tropical
really?
Pacific has
Okay.
0. So we'll be the first research vessel based in the region. And so any scientist in the world could reach out to charter the boat and put them to work. But we have this whole other dynamic of science diplomacy
Okay.
and capacity building. So
Tell us about that.
So as we put this vessel in this region, we will be working with those 4 nation states, hopefully bringing in Mexico and Peru, because they've been creating a bunch of marine protected areas that they don't actually know what's there because nobody's had time to, or vessels to research it. So now, we have people that know what they're doing, prior NOAA, Coast Guard, and Navy folks, and UNOLs, and equivalents from around the world for captains and crew. So the whole careers of doing science. And we arrive with them and then hire locals.
Yep.
And we'll always pair with local universities and other educational entities. And then wean ourselves out as we bring in locals to teach them how to do science at sea. And then have a platform for the students to come out on when it's not under contract, like come on out the boat, do some plankton tows, CTDs, basic science, and then wean ourselves out, and through the university connections, we'll always have a workforce flow coming in. So we always got local people on there, but that science diplomacy that's a big one.
It is, and actually, I wouldn't call it new because it turns out I recognized the same thing when I was at NOAA, and if China and the strategic competition we have with that nation right now, it was hot back then. And actually, I was a member of the National Security Council had these things called policy coordination committees, and each one was established for a certain issue, and there were maybe 5 on China, different aspects of China. And I was writing NOAA into every one of their campaign plans because of exactly that, science diplomacy. Case in point, for example, there are Pacific Island nations, China's basically trying to buy out, but some are working to stay with us, like the compact states of Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, and the Republic of Palau. And in fact, I traveled to Palau. I was the chair of the U.S. Coral Reef Task Force, one of the cooler jobs I've ever had. And what we did is we established a partnership between NOAA's National Marine Sanctuary in American Samoa and Palau's sanctuary. And after we went diving there and touring everything and having the task force meeting, we just came up with this idea. We signed the agreement. It was during COVID, unfortunately, so I couldn't fly back to Palau again, but we did this virtual signing, and that agreement's still in place. And so we're keeping Palau and other island nations as preferred partners over China, just like you're doing. And in fact, Panama's great because I just met with the Minister of the Environment today, and the Guy Harvey Foundation CEO, Jess Harvey, this morning. And he's a big champion of this kind of thing. And so, and he's speaking at 4 o'clock today, by the way, in one room around here. So I encourage y'all to attend.
He actually came up to me at the UN Ocean Conference and heard what I was doing, and shook my hand. Was super excited.
Juan Carlos Navarro. He is a force of nature. I'll tell you. Yeah.
After us.
Good.
I will go a step further with the science diplomacy. I had this crazy experience at a conference, International Research Ship Operators Conference. So big research vessels from around the world, everybody gets together. I think they'll have like 80 countries at one time, everybody's in there. The last meeting, I am sitting with the Taiwanese contingent to my left, literally where you're at right now, and the Chinese contingent to my right. And I'm like, you guys want me to pass notes back and forth, guys, or something? But just imagine, they're in the same room right next to each other. I mean, they weren't mingling or drinking beers together at night that I know of, but they were in the same room, right? And just like the International Space Station, we're still working with the Russians there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those last bastions of
cooperation.
We still talk,
right?
Especially the science community. We don't care. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, in fact, when I was in the Navy, I ended up going in between the time Russia invaded Crimea and then invaded Ukraine again. There was a slight warming with relations with Russia, and it was hydrography in my role as the hydrographer of the Navy that got me to go to St. Petersburg for this hydrographic cooperation meeting. Yeah, so that science can bring nations together is a powerful story.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to look it up, I have an op-ed about this, and that you could Google an environment soft power secret weapon against China, and I wrote it a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, but I weaved in all the things we were doing in the Pacific. For this reason, not only did I go to Palau and Fiji and Tuvalu and New Caledonia and Hawaii during 1 year at NOAA 2019, I also had all the ambassadors of those islands meet in DC at one point, which is just a terrific meeting.
I wish I was staffing you for that one.
Yeah, it was a good gig.
Also, semi-related to that science diplomacy, we talked about rapid response capabilities.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so that's
What about that?
a third pillar of my company is with all the same fleet, same boats, same crew, everything, doing science constantly, doing the science diplomacy and capacity building, but without changing a single thing, just having the right connections, being there, is a research vessel makes a very good rapid response vessel. We got multi-beam sonars, cranes, winches, dive capabilities, aerial drones, satellite communications.
So respond to what?
For humanitarian issues or environmental or natural disasters. One of my favorite examples, imagine having you want to pull 100 Nigerian schoolgirls off of a beach.
Oh, God.
We're going to have a boat in Libreville, Gabon that could be there within 12 hours with 2 small boats, ribs on board, that could run in, pull them out, big enough to take 100 and get back out.
Yeah.
And so imagine that around the world. NGOs that need to be evacuated out of regions, war zones, whatever it is. Other groups.
I had a tour at the Navy SEAL headquarters, and they employ assets like that. So you may get a call.
Another funding stream, right?
That's right.
It is nice to have a non-gray hull vessel being able to go into regions. But now imagine that this is global too, right? So we will have vessels, one in Vietnam, working on getting one there. It's going to be working with Myanmar, Thailand, Philippines, and right next to China.
Yeah.
China needs help. Well, we're going to come help, right? And that's that maritime, the law of the sea. Like you shall respond, and we'd be happy to do so to keep that science diplomacy going, but also responding. But also another example is Tonga, and I know the Prime Minister's somewhere in the building. Volcano that happened there a few years ago. It took, I think it was 2 weeks before a ship got there.
Wow.
And it was hard to report out what was happening there.
Yeah.
We would have one, I'm hoping, working with him, that we get a couple boats in Tonga. But we'd have a boat in Fiji and Samoa, and American Samoa. Actually, I want to put one in Samoa proper. But within 24 hours, we'd have a vessel there with multi-beam sonar that could go into the port and make sure that the pier is open and the channel, so you could get the relief vessels in there. Dock the boat, have aerial drones that take high-res pictures of what's happened there and satellite those images off to other governments and UNICEF and Red Cross or whoever is going to be coming.
Nice.
And then it's also just being the home base for emergency services. We're in Texas. You know where I got this idea? Hurricane Ike, Galveston.
Yeah.
NOAA research vessel Manta, Natural Marine Sanctuaries boat, so like an 80-foot boat, exactly like my class of vessel, had a hole punched in the side of it during the hurricane.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it didn't sink, it was above the waterline.
It couldn't respond?
Absolutely responded.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it became the EMS hub for Galveston.
Really?
For
Okay.
days.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, that small boat, and they're running police
Yeah.
and everybody around in the small boat. That pull a cow away from somewhere, whatever it was. But they had the satellite communications. I think it was some of the few lights in the city at the time. So they just lit up, at least half the city.
Wow.
With their lights, and all the ambulances and police and everybody came to that boat, make their phone calls with the satellite communications
Really?
or charge their cell phones once
great
they started
story.
working.
Yeah.
And would wash their face a little bit with water, get a little bite to eat, maybe take a little nap,
Yeah.
and then head back out.
I have some runtime with this kind of experience because I lost my house during Hurricane Katrina. I lived in South Diamond Head, Mississippi, and we evacuated a few miles north, but at the time, the storm surge predictions were something 12 to 15 feet. And we thought, okay, we're going to have some real bad flooding on the first story, and the wind will thrash the third story, but we'll put everything in the second story of our house, and we'll come back to it. But no, the actual storm surge was 27.8 feet, and every home south of I-10 was just wiped from the map. But at any rate, the response effort afterwards, I was following, and yeah, it required that exact kind of thing. You now have these mobile assets. We'll have this mobile fleet that will be able to do it like that. Still, even NOAA's not able to turn around that fast, and certainly not the Navy or anybody else, any federal ship. It's interesting, and don't feel bad for me, by the way, of losing my house, because we grew stronger as a family, and I certainly came to appreciate NOAA's mission because that weather forecast saved my family's life. But your model for this is interesting because it's really following what's happening across the board in private sector tech, where they're able to respond quickly and more quickly, provide a better service, have more coverage than the government. And the government's turning to that. So yeah, I'm seeing it with, for example, a GPS replacement that's a LEO orbit with a stronger signal, weather satellites, as I mentioned, also all sorts of ocean drones the private sector is fielding to help the Navy and NOAA with their missions. And it's pretty exciting. So, I mean, you're going to see more demand and more capability over this next decade, and I'm just excited to see you take off.
Yeah, thanks. Coming from the government military side of the house, and as it's turning like an aircraft carrier. And here I am on the outside, just being like, I could just turn the boat and go that way if I want to, like a speedboat. And
I drove an aircraft carrier for 2 years, and it's like that. It does not turn on a dime.
It's going. Yeah. Many stories about that. So getting near our end in our time. Let's talk. So your daughter at the Naval Academy. Your other daughters are very ocean friendly and
they're all certified scuba divers. Our last trip was in Belize at the Blue Hole, which was really terrific. It's this interesting marine geological formation that goes down about 400 feet, and we dived about 150. Proud of my youngest daughter. She knocked out that dive as just an open water qual. So, but we were there. My ex-Navy diver wife, Mama Bear, took care of her.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's a fantastic dive, and the reefs around there are very healthy. So there's hope for people here that I think are communicating about all the bad that's happening in our planet. There are islands of hope around there, and I certainly think the stories are worth telling. So Belize is in good shape.
Yeah, possible contract in Belize for GM.
I want to come with you.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
We could bring everybody in this room, I'm sure, if we wanted to.
All right. Team effort.
So my son, super proud papa here, is at University of Rhode Island studying marine biology.
Excellent. Nice.
Wants to focus on aquaculture. We'll see where he goes with that.
The next generation.
Next generation, right? So literally part of why I'm doing this is I look at my son and I'm just like, I could be retired and living on a beach somewhere, but I can't because I know what needs to happen, to kick open that log jam of collecting that data at sea, and hopefully successful in doing that. But what do you think we need to do as a civilization, as a nation, to ensure that the oceans are there and preserved to some level of health, where our kids and grandkids are able to actually enjoy the ocean and have a healthy life? Without an ocean, we die.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
that
kind
is really the point of exploration, and Bob Ballard and I talked about it today, that you can't manage what you haven't measured. So increasing our understanding of the ocean is a key. And another key, I think, is communication, making more Americans aware of the importance of the oceans to our planet, to our national security and prosperity. That's actually a second objective of my book. It's mostly about leadership. I think we could use better leadership in this country right now, and the book is a kind of a lesson guide for that, told through my story. But the other point I want to communicate with it is all of the good NOAA work and partner work in regards to ocean science and exploration and atmospheric science, really. I tell the story of all our scientists and what they do. And it's great. It's personal stories. I name names and offices and actual work. It's a lot of fun. I have sea stories abound in this in my memoir here, and so it was fun to write. But communicating that to the rest of America and making the oceans important to all of America, I think, is the key.
Yeah, I know one of my frustrations is the inspiring the next generation, right? We're always inspiring the next generation, and it's very important. But we're on like 4 or 5 generations that have been inspired since like Cousteau.
Oh yeah.
And here they are. They come out with their master's degree or PhD and go down the pier and looking for a boat to go out and do their science, and they're not there. And I'm just like, how have we missed this next step?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's one of those.
All right. Well, your son and my daughter are they're going to be out there doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
I'm sure you too.
Yes, exactly right. And we're going to give them a little help on the way.
Exactly.
Can't resist that.
Family business.
Yeah, family business. There we go. I'm glad we brought that up. Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, you too. I love tracking this and having our little. We usually have beers and have these conversations. So
that'll be later today.
Tonight. We'll have that later tonight.
All right.
So thanks to EarthX for putting this on and having us here today. I had an absolutely lovely, enjoyable time.
Nice, Mark. Thank
Tim.
you.
See ya.
Thank you all.